Generation Z, as well as Generation Alpha, have an undeveloped prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the most important part of the brain. The cortex part that makes logical decisions and increases your confidence. And an entire generation of kids lack a strong prefrontal cortex. In fact, 2 generations. Why is this? And no, this isn't a genetics problem. It's actually quite scary, okay? Zoomers struggle to read, right? They try to read and they can't get any of the information into their heads. The information output doesn't come out. That is because of the modern addictions they have, right? And it's a well-known fact that modern youths lack an attention span, right? They also lack maturity, as a lot of people claim, including the CNBC. While when we look at older people, they didn't have those disadvantages. Yes, the television did decrease their attention span as well, but it wasn't as bad. So what went wrong? How is it that 2 generations after 1998 holds the worst brain development out of anyone in history? That is a question that I'm going to answer today, because this problem affects everyone, right? Even you. So where did this problem come from? Why do Zoomers have underdeveloped brains compared to a lot of older people? It all starts the very thing that we bring with us everywhere. Causation 1, the phone, as well as social media. So what is it about our phones that ruin the brain development of many younger people? You'll be surprised how much your phone and the technology you utilize has an effect on your brain's development and structure. Your brain structure will change upon 2 hours of usage of social media and just scrolling. So basically, you have 2 components in your brain, the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. And those 2 are the most important ones. The prefrontal cortex is part of your brain that is underdeveloped in young people's minds, right? While the amygdala, though, not proven, okay, it's not proven that the amygdala is significantly larger in Zoomers, but I'm willing to bet that the amygdala is significantly larger in Zoomers because of the sharing symptoms, such as increased anxiety and unpleasantness. And not only is it the shared symptoms that I would say proves this fact, there's also diagnosis, right? So when you're using a phone, what changes in your brain? Your prefrontal cortex gets smaller and your amygdala gets larger. The amygdala is a part of the brain that triggers your flight or fight mode, right? With that part of the brain being enlarged, but the prefrontal cortex smaller, the brain will have increased levels of anxiety and less cognitive function, right? So how do we know this? According to UNC Health Talk, a study in the Journal of the Association for Consumer Research found that cognitive capacity was significantly reduced whenever a phone was within reach. Even when the phone was off, within reach. You know how insane that is? Not even using it. It's just literally sat there and it ruins your brain just from its presence alone. This is what I'd say is the #1 contributing factor to the decrease in the prefrontal cortex size in Zoomers and Gen Alpha. Your phone was made to distract you, as well as many apps on your phone. Social media also contributes heavily to your brain's cognitive functioning and development. When you use social media, every post releases a sharp amount of dopamine, right? Which, when the dopamine spike is too high or repetitive, and it will most likely be both, it goes below baseline, and thus the baseline decreases. What effect does this hold? Well, less cognitive ability, less attention span, worse focus, which means you can't even get into flow state now, decreased ability to read and take in information, and increased ADHD symptoms. You need your dopamine baseline to be high so you can actually feel like you can take in these actions, right? But you've made it worse for yourself, which is why every Zoomer tells everyone they might have ADHD symptoms, because your ADHD symptoms do actually increase with every single time you use social media, right? By far, the greatest offender of this dance of dopamine and brain manipulation is TikTok. Causation 2. TikTok. What makes TikTok so special compared to all the other social medias? Well, TikTok's main gimmick is far worse for your dopamine than any other social media platform. Because on YouTube, you would scroll down and see a bunch of videos for you to choose as if it was a library. Still, that would affect your dopamine, but it's not as bad as the Reels feature, right? TikTok didn't invent the Reels feature, as I'm pretty sure it was on like Snapchat and Instagram, but it popularized it, okay? The Reels gimmick is basically short form video after short form video. They used to be 3 to 60 seconds long, but now they can go up to 3 minutes now due to like recent features, right? When you scroll down to another video, your dopamine spikes, as well as the fact that in every video, every split second, there's a new thing to look at. Subway Surfers gameplay, parkour gameplay, random thing on the screen, I don't know. So your dopamine is extra manipulated, okay? And the effects it has on your baseline is enough to switch you off for the entire day. So think about that. TikTok has really manipulated everyone's attention spans that we all need to have additional gameplay at the bottom half of the screen on every single single TikTok short form video. You know how weird that is? So it so happens that the majority of younger people all have TikTok, right? All on their phones. They all use the Reels feature. Luckily, I've never used Reels. I have posted on TikTok before for marketing reasons, but I've never used Reels. I've never consumed anything on Reels, okay? In fact, I've never willingly scrolled down in a Reels page before, which is why my attention span and focus was so much better than most people in my classes, right? Because of how popular TikTok had become and how addictive the Reels feature was, every single social media platform started to use it, including YouTube. Avoid all of these things at all costs, okay? Causation free. Video games. Gaming essentially does the same thing that TikTok and social media does, right? Except every single dopamine spike is when you progress forward in the game, which is how gaming keeps you addicted, right? However, gaming doesn't only fry your dopamine receptors. It also changes your emotional functioning in your brain. There was a study conducted between 411 people ranging from 12 to 16, and there were two groups. One group did not play on weekdays, while the other group did play on weekdays. The group that played on weekdays had significantly worse impulse control compared to the other group because they played more. I made an entire video on this if you want to check it out, it's there. However, the fact that gaming ruins your impulse control explains a lot of impulsive functioning of younger children, right? Because tons of young children play video games. I used to play video games and thus I was more emotional and weak. As well as this source that I just explained. Family addiction specialist explains that gaming also will cause you to have worse emotional control, which was found from a study published on Frontiers. Gaming has most definitely contributed to brain development of younger children, where the brains have basically shrunken. And that's the causation. That's all of the things that are causing your brain to be worse. I made countless videos on this stuff, but it is really worrying that a lot of younger children have worse brain cognitive abilities because of this, right? Because your brain is the most important organ. Your brain has the ability to do all these things. Like, the brain is what makes people millionaires. And when your cognitive functioning is so much worse because of such an addictive app, it makes your life harder. However, there is a way you can reverse this. And this is my protocol for repairing my brain every time I go on the internet. I say this in every video. Go outside, meditate for 10 minutes, and immerse yourself in the outdoors. Meditation alone will fix this problem, as meditation increases the gray matter in your prefrontal cortex and decreases the gray matter in your amygdala. Thus, it will be reversed. And of course, look, the effect will take months, by the way. It's not instantaneous because you're still growing the thing, which is why you must do it every day. I also go outdoors into nature because the clarity it gives you is insane, right? This is something that no one talks about, but if you go outside and immerse yourself in nature for 5 to 10 minutes, your brain gets repaired. It just gets repaired. You're more cognitively alive. Look, that's what you must do. You must meditate, go outdoors in nature, and then avoid all the things I just spoken about, all the things I talked about, because you want your rate of prefrontal growth to be a lot higher than, you know, the stuff that gets rid of it. Because if you still meditate but go on social media like 9 hours a day, then you won't grow. Your brain won't grow anyway. So you must do that. You must make sure of your habits, okay? So I think that alone, all this stuff can explain why children these days are so weird and different to like a lot of older people. A lot of older people. I've all seen it. Keep never quitting.